What's up, everyone? Well, about a year ago, I made a plan to kind of remodel this Japanese maple, and after cutting it back and letting it grow out for the better part of a year, I'm going to go ahead and take the next steps today. If you haven't already seen it, go back and take a look at the video where I explain sort of the entire process of what's going to happen with this tree, and then come back and take a look at where we're at right now. Let me give this a little bit of a spin. As you can see, we didn't have 100% success in terms of getting budding where we were hoping for, but it's not bad overall. So the first step that I'm going to go through here is basically just to do some shoot and leaf reduction so I can kind of see what's going on in here. All right, now that I've spent a few minutes looking at the trunk and the branching, I kind of have a better idea of what's going on. And so I was hoping that I would get some budding along these branches so that I didn't have to cut them all the way back flush to the trunk. But you can see that there's not really any budding going on here, and then the budding that's going on here is actually adjacent to the branch rather than on it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off these stubs, and basically the reason for that is that the sooner we start healing the wounds that have to happen on the trunk, the sooner they'll be healed and we can continue the development. Plus, having shoots running above this section is going to help heal the wounds that I'm about to make, and that means that this stage of redevelopment of the tree is good not just for making primary and secondary branches, but also for healing this kind of wound. Up here I have a couple more stubs that I'm going to need to remove that did not bud directly from the branch. You can see as I'm cutting some of these that there's dead tissue all the way back to the trunk in some cases, even though there are live shoots coming out from the branch that was cut back. So I'm just trying to give it the best chance to heal over, starting from where the actual new buds are coming out. And if we kind of let these run, that'll help roll over all of this, this dead tissue that's in here. All right, up here at the top we have a lot of pretty strong shoots, and I don't need all of these, and if I cut these back, it's going to encourage more of the lower branching to kind of take off a little bit more. So I'm going to select buds up here as well as just cut back to one node on most of the shoots. And just by doing that, we kind of start to give it more of a bonsai shape, more of a controlled kind of feeling. Obviously, this has a long way to go, but that is actually not a bad start for the apex of this tree. The rough cut back done, my next thing that I want to do here is just get a little bit of wire onto some of these shoots. Now, these shoots are really tender because it's late spring, so I'm not going to be able to do much in the way of bending, but I will just be able to bend enough to give them some kind of direction, get them a little bit of movement to start going in the direction that I want them to go in. It's really important with tender shoots like this to make sure that your anchor point on your wire is very secure, and so I'm actually going to give this wire kind of an extra turn around the larger portion of the branch to ensure that the shifting anchor point doesn't cause these shoots to break off when I go to bend them. I'm also using bright aluminum wire, which obviously catches your attention in the garden. So every time I walk by this tree, I'll be reminded that it has wire on it that needs to be checked. And I don't need to go out the whole length of the twig because there's no way that past the first couple of nodes I'm going to end up using that part of the branch, so I'll end the wiring. So there's actually 4 buds here, one small one here, and maybe 5, a couple little teeny ones there right up at the tip, and then 2 stronger ones that came out slightly behind the cut point. So I've gone ahead and wired those stronger ones. These little ones I can't wire because they're only like 1/4 of an inch long. There's also a couple of weak buds over here, both of which are candidates for a good branch on this side, and there's not a lot of branching above them. So I'm going to use one of those to maybe come out and up to fill in some of the space on this side. And basically these guys are too small, as well as like this one right here and this one right here. They're all too small for me to really do anything with at this stage, so I'm just going to let them continue to grow for the time being while I work with the stronger shoots. On this branch, I kind of have my choice of buds, and there's 2 strong buds that came out down here, and then 1 strong one here, as well as some weaker ones. And because the movement is going to be going up, I'd really rather keep this one than these 2, even though these 2 have shorter internodes there. We've got plenty of space to play with on this composition because it's a relatively large tree. So I'm going to take a look again, but most likely I'm going to remove this one on the lower portion of the branch and just go ahead and wire that. All right, well, that's about all I'm going to do for today. And just to summarize, I went in and cut off all of the stubs of branches where no buds came out. And that's to basically just get those into the process of healing. There's going to be a lot of growing out and cutting back on this tree as it goes back through this middle development stage. And you know, the trunk's kind of what it is. It's got some nice old bark on it. It's also got some flaws. And so the wiring that I've done is really just to set a little bit of movement and the angles into the first sections of those branches so that they're going in the directions that I want them. And then other than that, I've thinned out buds where there were too many buds coming from one place. And I've also just sort of left alone certain things that need to grow more before we can do anything with them. These buds right down here will be a key part of this left side of the tree, and that means that we just have to leave those alone. I've cut back almost all of the shoots to just 1 or 2 nodes on the top 3/4 of the tree, and I've left this one to grow. That is to help with thickening this branch as well as start the process of actually thickening the lower trunk here. This piece of material has a lot of flaws, but by going through all of these steps and kind of redeveloping it, we can overcome almost all of them. So in the next session, which will most likely happen this coming winter, I will go ahead and do some root grafting on here, and meanwhile, I'll be monitoring the branch growth and trying to continue developing it logically. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. If you have experience with redeveloping old Japanese maples by cutting off all the branches, share it with everyone below. We'll see you next time.